in code, there are times where we want to do the same process over and over again in a loop, like right there on the spot until some condition is met. Keep doing this thing over and over, trying to make that condition happen. In Java, particularly, there are 4 flavors of loops. And they can be split off into 2 different families. You've got the while family of loops, and you have the for family of loops. Let's start our investigation of loops by starting with the while family, and we'll start with its main member, the while loop itself. So imagine for a moment that we have a condition where we want to prompt the user to enter anything, but the moment they enter exit, we want to stop. I realize that's pretty contrived, and that's pretty simple, but this would necessitate a loop. The idea is that I would have a while loop, right? We'll have a while, and that starts with a keyword, followed by the parenthetical. Inside of those parentheses goes some Boolean condition. And while this condition is true, this loop is going to continue to run over and over and over again. Also, a while loop has curly braces, like pretty much everything else in Java. So the real question becomes, all right, what do we want to repeat, and under what condition do we want that to repeat? So this little comment here is just a placeholder. We're going to replace that with something a little bit more useful. But first, let's do the hard work. Let's prompt the user. So let's give them a quick prompt. I'm going to use the sysout control space shortcut and then get rid of that line part. And let's give them just a really simple prompt, right? Enter exit to stop the loop. Now, again, I realize this is contrived, but that's okay. It's just for our demo, right? And of course, we want to use our valuable input reader to get the input from the user. So let's make a string input where we talk to the input reader object and ask it to read the next line of text from the user. And now we want to analyze the text. Now, in this case, we would like to figure out if the input dot equals, and we're going to use a special trick here. We're going to say ignore case, and then the word exit. The reason we do ignore case is it allows us to check for a character-for-character string comparison, except instead of checking to make sure this is a lowercase e versus a capital E and a lowercase x versus a capital X, it will simply look for, is it an E, whether it's capital or lowercase, and is this an X, whether it's capital or lowercase. So we'll accept the word exit typed in any combination of capitals and lowercase. However, this method is going to return a Boolean, and that's very useful. But we're not doing anything with the Boolean. Where's the Boolean going? It's just kind of going off into the ether, right? We're going to fix that. First, outside of the loop, let's declare a Boolean. And we're just going to call this Boolean keep going, which we will default to true. And then, inside of the parenthetical, we will simply put keep going. Now, naturally, since this is set to true, this loop is going to start, and then we will prompt the user and we'll get the input, and then we're going to analyze the input, but we want to store that analysis inside of keep going. Now, earlier I said we want to do equals ignore case, and this will return true if they typed in exit, but we want to keep going when it's not true. So we're just going to put the bang right here at the beginning, and this is going to say, hey, look, if this method returns true, switch it to false, and then store it. Conversely, if this method returns false, switch it to true, and then store it. So if they type in anything other than exit, this method will return false. And if it returns false, this not will turn it into a true, and that's when we want to keep going. If it's not exit, keep going. All right, so Control-Shift-S to save everything, and let's test it out. In fact, let's test it out first by just entering nothing. And look, the loop is still going, right? We get another prompt. Then I put in the number 1, and that's great. And then I put the word EX, and that's still okay. And then I'm like, hi, How are you? And look, as long as it's not the word exit, we're fine. But the moment I type exit with any combination of capitals and lowercase, the loop comes to an end and the application closes. This is the basic while loop. The use of the while keyword and then some Boolean condition. We often use a Boolean variable to store the current state. And then do the work you need to do. But the important part is that inside the loop, there is an opportunity for your Boolean condition to be analyzed as false. And that will cause the loop to stop.